You're standing in front of a mirror, but not the kind meant for reflection. This one is too old, too quiet, and too deep. The surface doesn't shine. It hums softly, like something just beneath water. And if you listen closely, it's not your face you hear breathing back at you. No. This mirror isn't here to show you who you are. It's here to let you go. There's a moment, barely a breath, when the floor tilts, just enough to unsettle your feet. The room behind you disappears. You don't fall, you float. Not upward, not down, just inward. And when you open your eyes, you are standing in another room. It's hard to tell where the light is coming from. It's not day or night. The walls are smooth, but not cold. Everything seems faintly reflective, like polished metal left out in the rain. It's quiet, except for a sound you can't quite place, like someone brushing cloth or breathing through a closed door. You're not afraid. There are 9 doors in front of you, each carved from a different kind of wood. One is white like bone. Another is lacquered red. One has curling golden inlays in the shape of a vine that climbs endlessly. They don't seem to belong to the same world, and perhaps they don't. You feel drawn to the first one, smooth and narrow, dark as ink. You walk to it. The handle is low, as if made for a smaller hand. The moment you touch it, something shifts behind your ribs, a soft click, like a key turning in a lock that's always been there. The door opens without sound. The air on the other side is dry, heavy with dust and oil. Columns rise up like petrified trees, surrounding an open courtyard drenched in late afternoon light. Olive branches curl in the corners. Statues stand in alcoves, their eyes blind with age. The marble beneath your feet is cracked but cool, and echoes faintly with every step. In the middle of the space, there is a girl. She's sitting on a low stone stool, her posture elegant but weary, like she's been waiting for years without needing to move. She doesn't look at you. Her attention is fixed on a small bronze mirror in her lap, round and simple, the kind that doesn't reflect much. In her other hand, she holds a thin stick, blackened at the tip. You watch as she dips it carefully into a shallow bowl of crushed charcoal and ash. Then, with the precision of a ritual, she draws a single line across her brow. Not one brow, both. She connects them in the center, forming a thick, dark arch that stretches from temple to temple. You try not to stare, but she notices, not with a look, but with the softest of smiles. In Athens, she says, her voice dry as papyrus, a woman is wiser when her thoughts have no space to escape. She taps the center of her unibrow gently, as if sealing a door. It's not fashion, she murmurs. It's a virtue. You sit, though there's no chair beneath you. Somehow the floor feels soft enough to receive you without complaint. The sunlight shifts, golden dust swirling in the heat like tiny moths. She leans forward slightly, letting her fingers brush the edge of the bowl. Some girls are lucky, she says, born with a shadow here. It means the gods touched them twice. Once for beauty, once for wisdom. Her own brows, you notice, are painted, thick and bold but deliberate, not heavy, not vain. She sets the bowl aside and opens a small box by her feet. Inside, bits of beeswax, a needle carved from bone, a curl of something dark and fine, hair, maybe, or wool. Everything smells faintly of oil and old cedar. I do this for my sister too, she says. She was not blessed with one. Her hands move without thought, preparing a thin mixture in a dish. She tests it against her wrist. Just enough warmth, just enough thickness. You can tell she's done this 100 times, maybe more. Boys don't understand, she continues softly. They think beauty is what we show, but real beauty is what we conceal. She meets your eyes, finally. Hers are dark and steady, but not unkind. Would you like me to do yours? You almost say yes, but something behind you stirs, a current or a breath, reminding you there are other doors and other women waiting. She seems to sense it too. She doesn't press you. Instead, she nods once, then folds the cloth in her lap, tucking the mirror away. One day, she says, all of this will seem strange. You'll wonder why we painted shadows where we should have let the light in. She doesn't sound bitter, just tired and proud. You stand. As you walk backward through the archway, she raises her hand, not in farewell, but in stillness, like a statue or a memory. And then the door closes. The moment the door seals behind you, the strange light returns, that quiet silver, soft as candle wax on glass. The room of doors remains unchanged, but now your body feels just a little heavier, like you've carried something out with you. Not in your hands, in your chest, a pressure, a presence, the weight of someone else's silence. Your eyes fall to the next door. This one is smaller, narrower, made of dull ironwood streaked with age. Its handle is smooth from centuries of fingers. You reach out and open it. Immediately, the air thickens. The scent of sheep tallow, iron, and something faintly floral lingers. Not fresh, but old, like dried petals long pressed between pages. The floor beneath your feet is packed dirt, cold, uneven. Stone walls rise close around you, low ceiling, wooden beams straining above like crooked ribs. You're inside a cottage, or a cell. She sits by a window, no larger than your face. A single candle burns beside her, not for light, just warmth. The sun has long since set, and outside is nothing but damp fog, pressing against the leaded glass like a held breath. She doesn't see you yet. She's holding a cloth up to her eyes, peering closely into a mirror smaller than your palm. Her lips are drawn tight in concentration. In her lap, a tiny ceramic bowl, empty save for a scattering of fine black threads. You hear the breath she takes before she pulls the next lash. Her fingers are precise, gentle but ruthless. One hand steady, the other quick. The thread slips from her skin like a fallen petal, and she drops it into the bowl. There is no flinch, no reaction, only another breath, another pull. You watch her remove 5 more before she notices you. When she does, she sets the mirror down slowly and turns to face you. Her eyes, now bare, rimmed in pink, are impossibly soft, not in fear, in trust, like someone who's already surrendered to being watched. They say lashes invite sin, she says quietly, without irony. You don't respond, you don't need to. She dips her cloth in the water basin beside her. It's cold. You can see the way her skin stiffens, the way her hands pause before touching her eyes again. In my parish, she continues, we must appear untroubled by the flesh. She looks out the window, though there's no view. Only night pressing in like wool. They think if a man falls to temptation, it's because something fluttered at the corner of his gaze. So we still the flutter. She doesn't sound angry, just practiced. You kneel beside her. The floor is rough beneath your knees. You can smell the wool of her skirts, the faint soot on her sleeves, the clean bite of cold clay from the bowl. She offers you the cloth. Go on, she whispers. Feel it. You do. It's soft at first, then rough where salt has dried in the fibers. It smells like tears that were never allowed to fall. I used to have lashes like wheat, she murmurs, almost smiling, golden, like my mother's. They brushed my cheek when I blinked. I used to be afraid they would grow too long and tangle. She laughs. But it's small. A memory, not a joke. They told me that was pride. You notice her hands. They tremble, just slightly. The tips of her fingers are red from cold, or friction, or too many mornings starting like this one. Not a single lash remains. She reaches for the bowl and holds it out. Inside, dozens of tiny black hairs, a nest of things unloved. Sometimes, she says, I think they're still watching me. The lashes, I feel them in the basin, whispering, blinking. She presses the lid shut with a final click. I keep them, she adds, almost apologetic. Is that vain? You shake your head. She nods, relieved. It's been so long since someone said nothing back. In the candlelight, her eyes look larger now, not hollow, but open, like stained glass without the lead. You see nothing but soul. I never liked mirrors, she whispers. They show you what the world wants erased. The wind outside picks up. It scratches at the door, the walls, the cracks between beam and brick, but inside, it's still, held. You reach out without thinking, just a touch, fingertips on her wrist. It's cold and warm at once, and then gone. She looks at you, really looks, for the first time. You're kind, she says, as if it's something she hasn't seen in a very long time. You want to stay, just a little longer. But the mirror behind her begins to hum. The one she set aside, its surface is changing, softening, rippling like the surface of a well. The door is calling you back. She hears it too. I understand, she says. You rise. She doesn't move to follow, only to reach into her lap and pull out a small scrap of linen. Something stiff is sewn into it, faintly curved, almost like a petal. She hands it to you. For when your own eyes grow too heavy, she says, pressing it into your palm. To remind you, they don't have to stay open. You close your fingers around it. The wind has stopped. The candle dims. And then you are gone. The fabric in your palm is still warm when the third door opens. It doesn't swing or creak. It simply yields, like something that's been waiting. The scent meets you before the light does. Boiled herbs, animal fat, crushed lotus root, and something else underneath it all, a sharper note, metallic and faintly sweet, like blood on rice paper. The room beyond is dim, but not dark. A single window lets in a spill of milky afternoon light, filtered through oiled parchment. The walls are clay, painted in soft ochre, and a narrow cot rests low to the floor. It is covered in layers of folded cloth, red, white, and gold. You can hear someone breathing. You step forward, and the door vanishes behind you. The girl is sitting cross-legged on the floor. Her hands are bare, but her feet are wrapped tightly in white cotton, layer after layer pulled across the skin with the precision of ritual. Each fold is neat, symmetrical, purposeful. You watch her pause to tuck one corner in just so, then lean forward to retrieve another strip from the basin beside her. She does not startle when she sees you. Her face is young, far too young. But her eyes are old. I've done this since I was 6, she says quietly, as if answering a question you didn't ask. Her voice is soft, almost sing-song, like a lullaby spoken only to herself. She dips the cloth in a bowl of steaming water, wrings it out with practiced fingers, then begins winding it again, tighter this time. The bones of her foot disappear beneath the fabric like they're trying to hide. They say it makes a girl graceful, she adds, eyes still on her task. Small steps, like a cloud floating over the earth. You kneel without thinking. The floor is warm here, heated from underneath by the low ceramic hearth built into the wall. She smells of rice starch, ginger root, and lavender ash. Her breath is steady. Her hands never stop. "Did you ever see lotus shoes?" she asks suddenly. She gestures toward a narrow wooden box. You open it. Inside, 2 impossibly tiny shoes, maybe the length of your palm, lie nestled in silk, embroidered with cranes and plum blossoms. Their soles are flat and worn at the tips, as though their owner had never walked upright, only pressed forward on bent toes. "They're beautiful," she says, "so delicate, like a promise." She picks one up and turns it in her hand. My grandmother said a girl with feet this small would never need to leave the house, because someone would always bring her what she needed. She smiles, but not happily. "I used to dream of dancing," she adds, "of running, of kicking the rain." She finishes the binding and places her feet gently on the floor. You can tell the cloth is too tight, the flesh underneath already purpling at the edges. But she doesn't wince. She doesn't move. "There's no more room in my shoes for dreaming." The words land softly, but they stay, like stones beneath silk. She gestures to the window. Outside, a garden of shadows. Bamboo, a pond, the silhouette of a bridge, flickers in the half-light. "I used to sit there," she says, "when I was still healing. I would unwrap my bandages and soak my feet in cold tea, but it made them swell, and that made my mother cry." She shifts slightly. A small noise escapes her lips. Not pain. Habit. You reach out, unsure why. Your fingers brush her ankle. Beneath the cloth, you feel bone, but not where it should be. Everything is folded, bent, compressed into the memory of a shape that no longer exists. "They called it elegance," she whispers, "but it was always silence. That's what they really wanted." You look down. Her toes are wrapped under, pressed flat against the soles of her feet. The arch has been broken and re-broken so many times that it has forgotten how to stand. "Now," she says, "I walk like the moon pulling the tide, always curved, always slow, always in pain." There is no bitterness in her voice, only fact. She takes your hand and places it on her knee. "You don't have to understand," she says, "only to witness." She closes her eyes. Her breathing deepens. One hand moves to her chest, the other to the silk lotus shoes. She cradles them like a child. "I am still beautiful," she whispers, "even if I never left this room." The hearth glows softly. The scent of herbs grows stronger, not unpleasant, just heavy, like the weight of seasons gone unmoved. You feel the room dim, not from darkness, but from stillness, like the world is holding its breath. And then you are back. The door has vanished. The floor beneath your feet is smooth once more. But in your hand, there is a single silk thread, red, like the ones that once bound her feet. You don't remember taking it. You close your fist and move to the next door. The next door is taller than the others, wide, heavy, made of deep varnished wood that gleams like oil in candlelight. A faint scent trails from the gap beneath it. Lavender, crushed cloves, and something faintly metallic, like ink mixed with iron. You hesitate before touching it. There's a weight to this one, not just the wood. The silence behind it is denser than before, more deliberate, like someone inside is holding their breath. You press your hand to the surface. The door opens with a sigh. At first, all you see is white, a soft, endless whiteness. Linen, chalk, powdered skin. A pair of pale hands rests on a vanity table, their fingers delicate but tense. The skin is smooth and cool-looking, nearly blue under the candle's glow. You follow the hands up to her arms, then to her shoulders, bared but not exposed, and finally to her face. She is powdered to the point of translucence. The candle beside her flickers once, revealing the shimmer of something wet on her décolletage. Not sweat, paint. She is drawing veins, faint blue lines, delicate and branching, curve over the tops of her breasts like the roots of a tree reaching upward toward her collarbone. The paintbrush she uses is thin as a feather, and she dips it again and again into a small bowl of indigo pigment. She doesn't look up when you enter. In daylight, she says softly, you can see them anyway, but under candlelight, they vanish. She pauses, then paints another curved stroke, so I help them. Her voice is calm, measured, tired. You step closer, and the scent of lavender sharpens. Beneath it, rose water, chalk, old starch, and something faintly musty, like fabric stored too long in a wooden chest. Her corset is loosened in the back, but still wrapped tightly around her ribs. You can see the faint rise and fall of her breath, shallow, disciplined. It's what separates us from the field hands, she adds after a while. They have warmth in their faces, color in their arms. But we have stillness. She turns slightly, and the candlelight brushes her cheek. You realize her face, too, is painted, her lips a soft crimson, her cheeks touched with a false flush, just enough to suggest life without allowing it to enter. You see, she whispers, almost to herself, if my skin is pale, I belong to leisure. If my hands are soft, I belong to money. If my chest is thin, I belong to virtue. She looks down at her painted veins and adds a small forked line near her collarbone. Everything else is performance. You kneel beside her. The air here is warm, but unmoving. The windows are shuttered, the walls heavy with damask. You can feel the dust in your nose, the dry bite of powder on your tongue. She lifts a small mirror from the table and examines herself. The mirror is silver-backed, slightly tarnished, its reflection dulled and fogged. But she doesn't seem to mind. Perhaps she prefers it this way. I once saw a girl laugh in the sun, she says. Her skin turned pink, her teeth shone. She didn't notice. But I did. She leans in, peering into the mirror. I hated her for that. You reach out, unsure why, and brush the edge of the corset where the fabric pinches into her skin. Her body stiffens, but not from fear. I've forgotten what it feels like to expand my lungs, she says after a long pause. To run, to lie down flat. She closes her eyes. I don't miss freedom, she adds, only the illusion of being unmeasured. The words hang like perfume, sweet, strange, and sad. On the table, beside her paints, lies a book, open to a page of illustrations, silhouettes of fashionable figures, all narrow-waisted, long-necked, and perfectly composed. Each one is annotated in the margins, little notes in looping script. Too warm. Add powder, lower neckline, whiten more. She brushes the book closed with the back of her hand. Tonight is a ball, she says, and I must become invisible again. You look at her. Truly look. She is beautiful, yes, but not in the way one expects. She is like a statue that's been polished too long, edges softened, details blurred, color erased. Only shape remains. Stillness. Perfection without pulse. You want to ask her why, but you already know. She picks up a cloth and begins blotting her skin, removing excess powder. The veins she painted earlier smudge slightly, but she does not correct them. She leaves them as they are, faded, like something just beneath memory. Do you ever wonder, she asks, voice low, What we would look like if no one told us how to appear. She doesn't expect an answer. The candle flickers again. She reaches for a small bottle of scent, lavender again, and dabs it on her wrists, behind her ears, between her breasts. A final touch. You stand. There is nothing left to say. She does not turn to watch you leave. She remains still, eyes on the mirror, tracing invisible lines down the shape of her neck, and as you walk away, you feel the heat of the paintbrush she left behind, tucked now into your sleeve, though you don't remember picking it up. The door you approach next is barely there, carved from thin, sun-bleached wood, almost the color of bone. Its frame leans slightly, as if tired of holding itself upright. You press your hand to it, and it doesn't swing. It crumbles open like rice paper touched by rain. The space beyond is small. No windows. Just a single oil lamp hanging from a beam above, casting a gold ring of light on the bare floor. In the center sits a girl, knees tucked close, arms folded across her lap. She is dressed in layers of silk so thin they shift when she breathes. But what draws your eye is her hands. Her fingers are long, almost too long, and her nails, they curve like delicate ivory crescents, extending inches past her fingertips, so long that they shimmer in the lamplight, twisting softly with every motion, like glass reeds swaying underwater. She doesn't notice you right away. She is busy trying to pick up a small pin with a hand that no longer functions like a hand. The pin trembles on the lacquer tray. Her nails bump it gently, over and over, but it refuses to rise. At last, she sighs, defeated, and leans back against the wall. Her head tilts toward you. Can you help me? You kneel and lift the pin. It is for her hair, a simple bone ornament shaped like a plum blossom. She turns her head, and you carefully slip it into place. Thank you, she says, her voice so quiet it barely moves the air. She raises one hand to examine it, fingers spread. Every nail is tipped in gold. Not paint, armor, tiny filigreed caps, each one custom-shaped to protect the brittle crescents beneath. I had them made after my fourth one broke, she says, trying to open a teacup. You nod, not because you understand, but because you don't want her to feel alone. They say long nails are a sign of beauty, she continues, almost dreamily, but what they really mean is that I do nothing. She lifts her other hand and lets it hover near your face, not touching. See? Not even this. I can't scratch an itch, can't lace a ribbon, can't write. Someone else dresses me, feeds me. She smiles. It's a luxury, or that's what they call it. You can't help but notice the rawness on her palms, not from work, but from friction, from hands that are no longer allowed to curl, from fingers forced into stillness for beauty's sake. She flexes them slightly, wincing. I used to love climbing trees, she says. My father would scold me. You'll crack your nails. Her laughter is short. But I didn't have nails then. I had hands. She moves to the side and gestures for you to sit. You do, cross-legged across from her. The lamp swings slightly above, throwing the walls into soft motion. Some days, she murmurs, I dream I cut them all off. Every last one. And wake with my hands and fists. She pauses. Then, but when I wake, they're still here, still shining, still useless. She looks down at them, not in anger, but something gentler, something like grief. There's a girl next door, she says. Her family makes nail guards for women like me. Her fingers are rough, burned from molten wax and fire gold. I envy her. She turns her head toward the wall, eyes distant, Because she makes something. You watch her a long while. Not for words, but for presence. Every now and then, she tries to adjust the fabric at her waist. Fails, waits, tries again. You move to help, and she stops you with a glance. "I want to try," she says softly. You let her. It takes her 4 tries. She manages to fold 1 layer of silk back into place. Her breath hitches when it finally lies flat. You look at her, and in that moment, she's radiant. Not because she looks perfect, but because, for once, she made a crease with her own hand. She rests for a long time after that. When she finally speaks, her voice is lower. "My mother's nails were longer than mine," she says. "She once had to be carried after her sleeve caught fire. Couldn't pat it out. Couldn't scream. She fainted from the heat before anyone noticed. She turns her hand over and gazes at her palm. Still, they said she died beautiful. You say nothing, not because you have nothing to say, but because she has said enough. She offers you one of the gold nail guards. You hesitate, then accept it. It's surprisingly light. The inside is smooth, shaped to fit her perfectly, and only her. "For memory," she says. You stand. Her eyes close, not in exhaustion, in release. As you step backward, the lamp above her flickers once more, then fades. You turn, and the door is no longer there. In your hand, the nail guard glints faintly. You tuck it away and walk on. The 6th door stands slightly ajar, as though whoever passed through it last forgot to close it behind them. You reach for it carefully, but it opens before you touch it. Just a whisper, just enough. The air is different here. Not warm, not cold, but close, intimate, as if the space itself doesn't like being disturbed. You step in, and the door seals shut behind you like a sigh being swallowed. The light is low and thick. A fire smolders somewhere unseen, casting long orange shadows across a room of carved beams and heavy curtains. You can hear it crackling, faint and steady. The scent of beeswax, pressed herbs, and copper fills your nose, rich, old, ceremonial. And then, from the center of the room, you hear it. A single breath, measured, practiced. You turn and find her. She is standing before a full-length mirror, back straight, arms lifted behind her. Her maid is tightening the final laces of a corset. The garment wraps around her like the memory of a cage, elegant, severe, and merciless. It pulls her body into a shape not quite human, chest thrust forward, hips arched back, shoulders drawn in. You watch her breathe, shallow, sharp. The maid finishes tying the laces, then steps away. Now alone, the woman stands still. The mirror before her reflects not a person, but a silhouette. Curves where curves weren't meant to be. Angles softened into S-shapes. A spine bent into artifice. She doesn't look at you, not yet. She is too focused. She takes one step forward, slowly, then another. Her body rocks forward slightly with each movement, as though her center of gravity has shifted far ahead of her. She walks like a question mark, graceful and distorted. Only then does she speak. They call it the S-bend. Her voice is calm, level, like someone reading a definition from a book. It's meant to protect the waist, to give room for breath. But they don't tell you what it does to the rest of you. She turns slightly toward you, and you see her ribs pressing up against the edge of the corset, not breaking the skin, but present, sharp beneath fabric. She smiles, faintly. It doesn't hurt, unless I try to laugh. You step closer. Her gown is folded neatly across a low stool nearby. Layers of muslin, taffeta, and velvet waiting to be shaped around her body. But for now, she wears only the corset, stockings, and a chemise that clings to her skin like parchment to ink. "I've worn one every day since I turned 13, she says, reaching for a pair of gloves she cannot quite grasp. "At first, I thought it was armor, something that made me important." She chuckles, though it ends in a cough. "But it's not armor, is it? It's the thing you wear so someone else will think you're lovely. From a distance." You retrieve the gloves for her and offer them. She doesn't take them. Not yet. Instead, she rests a hand on your shoulder for balance. "I used to dance," she whispers, "not well, but with joy. Until one night, I fell, and the corset didn't bend. My ribs did." She gestures to a faint line near her side, barely visible. They called it a lesson in grace. You help her into the gloves. Each finger is a struggle. Not because they're tight, but because her breathing makes her hands tremble. She can't quite draw a full breath, not with the laces tied this way. Still, she stands, composed, beautiful, bent. "I've learned how to make it work," she says, "to angle myself in conversation, to tilt when I walk, to smile without expanding my chest." She moves toward the curtain and pulls it back an inch. Outside, a garden party. Gentlefolk drifting between tables, parasols glowing in twilight, laughter floating like perfume. You can't hear what they're saying. You don't need to. "They say I have excellent posture," she murmurs, "that I move like a swan." She lets the curtain fall. "They never ask why I eat standing up, why I disappear during waltzes, why I sit on only the edge of chairs." You see the strain now, not in her body, but in the stillness around her, like something held in tension too long, about to snap. She sits carefully, slowly, on a cushioned bench. Only half of her makes contact. Her spine remains arched, the corset keeping her upright even when she would rather collapse. You kneel beside her again. The fire crackles. She watches it for a while. "When I take it off," she says, almost inaudibly, "I forget how to be." Her hand grazes yours, a soft, accidental touch. "It's not the pain," she says, "it's the space. I don't know what to do with all the air that rushes in." You listen. There is nothing to say that won't undo her stillness. She lifts a small object from the bench, a ribbon, deep navy blue. She presses it into your hand. "For when you want to be held," she says, "but not touched." You nod. She closes her eyes just once, and then you are standing again. The ribbon is warm in your palm. You step backward through the dim firelight, the scent of wax clinging to your skin. The door closes behind you without sound. Your spine feels heavier than before, and the silence around you stretches thin, waiting for you to open the next door. The ribbon still rests in your hand, soft and warm, when you reach the next door. It is darker than the others, deep wood stained nearly black, with iron rivets sunk into the grain like quiet eyes. Unlike the previous doors, this one is cool to the touch, cool like stone, cool like shadow. You hesitate for a moment, unsure what awaits you on the other side. Then you push it open. The room is quiet, almost reverent. Lanterns hang from wooden beams overhead, their glow low and golden. Tatami mats cover the floor in neat patterns. The scent that greets you is unusual, sweet, almost syrupy, but tinged with something deeper: iron, ink, and dried plum. There is incense in the air, faint and curling, but no fire, only smoke. You see her seated near the far wall, her legs folded neatly beneath her, her posture perfectly upright. Her kimono is black with threads of silver that catch the light like spider silk. Her hair is pinned high, but a single wisp has fallen loose at her temple. She is holding a lacquered bowl, and she is painting her teeth black. You don't speak. You don't need to. She dips the brush again, lifts it to her lips, and spreads the black lacquer over the last white tooth. The transformation is complete. Her smile is no longer bright. It is ink. It is silence. It is deliberate. She rinses the brush, then looks up and meets your gaze. People think it is for beauty, she says softly, but it is not. She closes the bowl and sets it beside her. It is for loyalty, for stillness, for belonging. Her voice is low, melodic, not mournful, just calm, like someone who has practiced speaking in whispers. When you blacken your teeth, you stop being someone who needs to smile for strangers. You sit across from her. The floor is warm, though there is no visible source of heat, only her presence and the light. She lifts a cloth and dabs the corners of her mouth, folding the fabric with such precision it becomes square again in an instant. Every movement is measured, nothing wasted, everything intentional. They say a woman's face should shine only for her husband, she says. So I gave him my smile, all of it. She pauses. Her fingers rest on her lap, relaxed now, unburdened. But sometimes in the dark, I miss it. You don't interrupt. She turns slightly toward the wall. On a low shelf beside her are small jars, some labeled, some not. Pigments, pastes, oils. Next to them, a folded letter sealed with red wax. I wrote him once, she says, to tell him I still wear the lacquer, that I have not laughed at another man's joke, that I still wear the perfume he liked. She reaches for the letter but does not open it. He never wrote back. Her eyes linger on the wax seal. I think of that silence as devotion. It hurts less that way. You watch as she unfolds another piece of cloth and lifts a second brush. This one is thinner, more delicate. She uses it to trace the edge of her eyelids with soot-black pigment, not to accentuate, but to frame, to close. Some nights, she says, I dream my mouth is full of ink, and I wake trying to swallow. She sets the brush down. There are other women in the village who don't lacquer, she continues. They say they prefer to be seen, that black teeth are old-fashioned, that love doesn't require such offerings. She smiles again, the faintest trace of lacquer still glinting beneath her lips. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm just hiding. She reaches beside her and lifts a thin strip of paper. A poem. You can see the brushstrokes. Elegant, restrained, deliberate. She reads aloud. The plum tree blossoms. Yet I do not bloom with it. I remain winter. She folds the poem and places it back in its sleeve. I do not need to be spring, she says. I only need to last. You understand now that the blackness of her teeth is not decay. It is commitment. It is quiet. It is the absence of need. She takes something from a small lacquer box and offers it to you. A ribbon, again. But not for the waist, not for the wrist. This one is meant for the mouth. A ceremonial strip, soft and dark, once worn to cover the lips in mourning or silence. For when you want to speak, she says, but choose not to. You accept it. She bows her head once, slow and deep. When she lifts it again, her expression is unreadable, but not empty. You rise. The smoke around her thickens just slightly, curling in slow arcs through the warm air. You step backward, and the door seals with a hush. The scent of lacquer clings to your skin. Your hands carry 2 ribbons now, and you are beginning to understand the weight of them. The 8th door is the smallest of them all. You nearly miss it, set low in the wall, narrow, and aged to a pale gray like driftwood forgotten by time. Its surface is smooth, worn not by hands, but by years of glances, of waiting. You bend slightly to reach the handle and open it with care. A hush greets you. Not silence. Hush. A soft, breath-held stillness, like the moment before a candle is blown out. The room beyond is dim, lit only by the soft amber glow of a lantern hidden somewhere overhead. The walls are curved, and the ceiling slopes low, making the space feel round, enclosing, protective. She's sitting on a cushion before a mirror. At first, you think she's asleep. Her back is straight, her hands resting neatly in her lap, the sleeves of her robe folded like wings across her thighs. But then, slowly, her fingers move toward her forehead, and with practiced care, she plucks. Just one, then another. Hair, small, fine strands from the edge of her hairline. She drops each one into a shallow wooden bowl beside her. The bowl is already half full. She sees you in the mirror but does not turn. They used to say, she whispers, that a wide forehead meant nobility, intelligence, piety. Her voice is delicate but unwavering. She plucks again. And so, we made them. You step inside and the door closes softly behind you. The air smells faintly of sandalwood and camellia oil. The floor beneath your feet is woven mat, firm but quiet. You move to sit beside her, though she never glances away from the mirror. There's an art to it, she says, eyes still on her reflection. Not too much, just enough. You want your head to look vast, like a painting with sky. Another strand falls. I started when I was 12, she continues. My mother did it first. She called it the veil of wisdom. A girl's innocence is kept in her hair, she said, and so we removed the front of it. She dips a cloth into a bowl of cool water and presses it gently to her forehead. The skin there is pink, slightly irritated, but she seems unbothered. Men never questioned it, she adds. They simply nodded and said, "How refined." She smiles faintly. But refinement is always someone else's word, isn't it? You look at her more closely now. The rest of her hair is thick, pinned into loops and braids at the back of her head. The contrast makes her forehead seem even more pronounced, like a half moon rising from the horizon. Sometimes I wonder what I would have looked like, she says, with a fringe, with softness, with something left undone. Her fingers touch her temple, gently tracing where the hair once grew. There are paintings, she murmurs. So many women, so many high, smooth brows. We all look the same after a while, like saints or statues. She turns to you, finally. Her eyes are gentle, dark, not sad, but distant, as though most of her already lives in memory. Do you think beauty and absence are the same thing? You don't answer, because you don't know. Not yet. She picks up a small box from the floor and opens it. Inside are delicate tools, a tiny curved blade, a handful of tweezers, a cloth with faint red stains, a small jar of oil. Each item is placed precisely, lovingly, like relics in a shrine. My husband never saw me without this, she says. He called me his moonlight wife, always glowing, always distant. She dips her fingers in the oil and massages it into her skin, moving in slow circles to soothe the tender patch. The scent fills the room, a blend of chrysanthemum and sesame, warm and slightly bitter. I sometimes imagine growing it back, she says, letting the hair fall forward again. But she trails off, then plucks another strand. It would confuse them, she finishes. You watch her fingers tremble just once, then still. She lifts a small mirror and holds it to you. Would you try it? She asks. Would you give away the border of yourself to belong? You take the mirror. In it, your own reflection stares back, but softened, ghost-like in the low light. You touch your forehead without thinking. She sees this and smiles, truly this time. There are things we remove, she says, not because they're ugly, but because we were told they don't belong. She offers you the cloth she used to dab her skin. You hesitate, then take it. It's still warm. For when you want to disappear, she whispers, just enough to be loved. The lantern above you begins to dim. The room blurs softly at the edges, and you feel the pull, the same quiet summons you've felt before. She doesn't rise. She simply bows her head slightly, one last time, and you step away, folding the cloth in your palm like a secret. When the door seals behind you, your brow feels strangely exposed. You do not touch it. You do not need to. The final door waits. It is unlike the others, not taller, not grander, not gilded or worn. In fact, it barely appears to be a door at all, just a faint outline in the wall, drawn in soft gold like the edge of a dream you almost forget upon waking. But you know it's the last. You know because your hands are full now. Fragments from the women you've met. A strip of silk, a golden nail guard, a painted brush, 2 ribbons, a folded cloth, a thread like blood. None of them heavy, and yet your arms ache from carrying so much of what they left behind. You press your palm to the door, and it opens inward. And there, inside the 9th room, is a mirror. No girl, no scent, no voice, just the mirror. It stands tall and freestanding, the kind that doesn't belong to any time or place. The frame is worn in some spots, burnished in others. The glass is clear but not bright. It hums, softly, familiar. You step toward it. Your reflection greets you, but something's changed. Not your face, not your form, but the way the air moves around you. You are fuller somehow, heavier with the stories, lighter with their release, and in your eyes, you carry a softness that was not there before. Behind you, the room begins to shift. Not all at once, but slowly. Faint shapes flicker in the edges of the mirror. The girl with the unibrow sitting under marble columns, the woman with the painted chest still blotting her skin, the one with the lacquered teeth folding her poem. None of them speak. They do not need to. They're watching you now, not to be admired, but to be remembered, to be carried. You reach out to the mirror, fingertips meeting their glass counterparts, and just as you do, the light begins to fall, slowly, like dusk. You close your eyes and breathe. Here, in this final space, there is no more story to witness, no more beauty to undo, no more shape to fit into, only the echo of presence, the hush after ritual. A voice, perhaps your own, whispers inside your mind. You do not need to be lovely. You do not need to be seen. You do not need to disappear. You sit down on the floor, still warm from all the moments that came before. The cloths and ribbons in your hands settle in your lap like petals falling from a tree. Quiet, simple, weightless. The mirror does not vanish. It does not fade, but it becomes still. And so do you. Let your shoulders soften. Let your hands unclench, each finger one by one. Let the breath come lower now, into the chest, into the belly. Let it stretch you gently from the inside, like a lantern expanding with warm air. There's nothing more to do tonight, nothing more to see. You've already wandered through time, through paint and powder, through binding and silence and sacrifice. You've walked with women who reshaped themselves for love, for duty, for a promise they couldn't even name. And they were beautiful, but not because they were perfect, because they existed. So let the images fade now. The lacquered bowl, the silk-shrouded foot, the soot-dark lash. the corset that held too tightly, the girl who plucked herself into absence. Let them rest. Let yourself rest. The mirror behind your eyes has gone quiet. The hallway of doors has dimmed, and the ribbon in your hand loosens, just slightly, like something finally letting go. Your face is your own. Your breath is your own. Your sleep is yours. So slip under it gently, like entering a warm pool at dusk without a ripple. No more edges, no more angles. Just the hush of night and the quiet miracle of stillness. Sleep well, traveler. You've remembered enough for now.